All right, hey folks, this is Allen Goodman. We're here at Mr. Jerry Clark's game room, along with Mr. Pat Coffey, on behalf of the International Association of Woodcarvers. Today, we just did this project out of a sweet gum. It's a little bit larger than a walking stick diameter. It's a wall hanger, and we auctioned it off. I will be going back home and finishing up, cleaning it up, and put some finish on it. But we'd appreciate it if you guys would look it over and check it out.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the International Association of Woodcarvers. It's Saturday, February the 1st, 2025. We welcome you all into our meeting today. Excited about the presentation that we have today. A friend of mine, Allen Goodman, that I've known for a long time, carved with quite a bit down in Charlotte, and have looked up to his skills for many years, taking classes from him and competed against him in carving competitions, and just an all-around great guy. He's going to be on with us today. Before we get to him, I'll talk a little bit like I usually do about some of the stuff that we've got going on and what we've got coming up. We will not have a meeting next Saturday, so I did want to go ahead and bring that to your all's attention early in the meeting. Dave and I both have some conflicts as far as next Saturday goes. We were going to have Joshua Walters on. He's been gracious enough to bump up to March the 1st. So no meeting next week. On the 15th of February, we're going to have Mike Pounders come in. Mike's going to talk about building your own duplicate machine. So if you want to make your own rough outs, he says that you can do it fairly easy, but you're going to have to do it one at a time. So he'll talk a little bit about that on the 15th. On the 22nd, we're going to have Bruce Ankeny come in. He's going to be doing a demonstration, and I also have one of his carvings that we're going to be auctioning off. On the 1st, like I said, Joshua Walters from Windy Cape Studios is going to be coming in. Joshua is going to be talking about making bases. He's going to do a demonstration about how he goes about doing that. So we welcome him. And again, he's from the Pennsylvania area. I wanted to bring that up because I'll be up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania on the 15th of March. We're going to be doing a live broadcast from there, also doing a demonstration at the show. So if y'all can make it up to Pennsylvania, make sure you do that. On the 8th of March, we're going to have Rod Gatlin back in. He's going to talk to us about the Charlotte show that's coming up in April down in Charlotte. So we look forward to having Rod come back. So as I was saying, we've got a lot of stuff going on. We won't be here next week, but then we're booked pretty much through at least the middle of March. We'll be working on trying to get some of the other dates filled up, and I'll let you know about that on the 15th when we come back. I want to welcome everybody who went to Del Green's class. I know he had a class on shorties that started today. Hope the people that were in that class jumped over into this meeting. Some other classes that are coming up. Dwayne Gosnell has a caricature class starting on February the 4th. Dave Stetson, who is on with us today, has a Cowboy with a Bottle class starting on March the 1st. And then Janet Cordell has a class starting on May the 5th. If you're interested in any of those classes, you'll need to reach out to the instructor, as I always say. Find out the materials you'll need, get signed up, and make sure that you do that early enough so that you can get prepared for the class for when it starts. So reach out to those instructors, get signed up. You'll be glad that you did. All of it's hosted through Woodcarving Academy, but the classes themselves have to be signed up through the instructor. So just want to let you know about that. Back to Dave Stetson. As always, we're going to go ahead and have Dave come in. He's going to do our words of wisdom. Dave, as usual, I appreciate you coming in and helping us out. I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, my friend.
Hey, thanks, Blake. Okay, short quote today, and I'm not sure who quoted it. I don't know where it came from, but I was reading this, and sometimes the short ones require more thought. And this one said that art, and art also applies to wood carvers, but art or carving is the only way to run away without leaving home.
All right, Dave, we appreciate that. That's for sure. It's the only way to do it. Again, we want to welcome Allen Goodman. Saw Allen down at my class just back in December. He's a knife maker. He's a tool sharpener. He's a fantastic wood carver. He's going to be doing a demonstration today on carving sweet gum. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Allen, see if he wants to say a few words, and then we'll go ahead and get started on the demonstration. Before I do that, let me just say this. Allen's going to be carving a piece today. He wants to auction that piece off. As you all know, we had some damage in the surrounding region from the hurricane. There's a group called Carvers for a Cause that Jonathan Creason's over. The proceeds to the auction for the piece that he's carving today is going to go towards benefiting those flood victims. So just like we normally do with our auctions, place your bid in the chat. High bid at the end will win. Those proceeds will be sent to Jerry Clark. Jerry Clark will be the one making the donation to Carvers for a Cause. And Allen, in turn, will send out that carving to the winning bid. So if you're all interested in that and you've seen Allen's work, it's a great opportunity to get a piece of his and to help a great cause. So I just want to tell you that. He may talk to you a little bit more about that, but you can place your bid in the chat. And again, at the end, we'll call it. We'll give you the information on where to pay by PayPal, and we'll get your information so that we can ship that out to you. So, Allen, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. Thank you again for coming on and presenting today, and we look forward to hearing what you have to share with us.
All right. Thanks, Mr. Blake. Thanks
Yes, sir.
For everybody that's out there. Can't see you, but I'm sure with the help that we got here, we got Mr. Pat Coffey and Jerry Clark. So we're here at Jerry's house. We was down in the shop, and the Wi-Fi wouldn't reach, so we moved up here into Jerry's little game room. So they're over here on the couch. So be sure and thank those guys if you see them. But just wanted to say to everybody, thanks. It's a very humbling experience. As Blake was talking about, just hit me. I'm going to be doing this demonstration. Would like to offer it if anyone's out there. It was just a piece of sweet gum. It had a couple of twists in it, and I've been eyeing it for about 3 or 4 weeks as I'd cut sticks here and there. But it was just bigger than a walking stick, and that was the only little twist it had on it. So I went ahead and felled the tree, and all I did was saw it apart right there. So now instead of a walking stick, I've got 2 wall hangers. You can do a lot with just. I've heard people call it trash wood. I don't like that term because it's got a lot of good qualities to it. I put sweet gum, or excuse me, pentacryl on the ends of the sticks there to keep them from splitting and checking. You can rub a potato on the end. Just rub it on the end, and it'll keep all the cracking and the checking down. So it gets into tools. I've been putting a lot of thought into this, and I still don't know how I want to go about roughing this out or carving it. I've been doing wood spirits and carving since I was probably 17, 18, 19 years old. So it's been a day or two. But as I was telling Jerry earlier, one day the light's going to go off and you're going to be able to do your own carvings just from your own style. So maybe this will help Jerry in the future and some other folks out there. But just to get in a little bit about the tools I'm using. I'm not using a glove. I'm just going to go ahead and get that out there. When I started carving, it was all I could do to find these fancy looking tools and carving knives. I hear a lot of people say you carve with a pocket knife. I do. It's just because it's there. It's familiar. It's in my pocket every day. So even at making knives, I still go to this little 3-bladed Whittler pocket knife. It's got a kind of like me. It's got a belly on it, so I can reach in here and get to a lot of different areas in this wood. So I guess I'm just going to go ahead and just start making some cuts. I could use this reciprocator. I've got it off to the camera, off to the side over here. But if the lights go out and you don't have enough to pay the power bill, and you got a pocket knife and a sweet gum tree, here's what you do. You sit out in the yard and you whittle enough till you can get enough to pay the power bill. So that's one of the things I kind of think about a lot when I leave the house is, do I have a knife? Why would I need a knife? You know, it's 2025. A lot of people don't necessarily like you to carry a knife, but it's a tool. It was man's first tool, so that's all it is. It's a tool.
Hey, Alan, if somebody wanted to get a pocket knife like that, do you make those available to people?
I try to have some on hand, and it just depends where I find them, if I've got them or not. But I do sharpen and or modify the blade. I try to do what the customer would like within the frame, what we have to work with in the style or the pattern of the particular knife. So yeah, I do that, and you can just get a hold of me probably on Facebook Messenger. You know, it's probably the best way. So, but here again, you know, just kind of working back, I've used a kind of an upsweep knife, and this is about a number 3, just to kind of give you an idea. It could be a number 5, a number 3, or a pocket knife. You guys will have to holler at me if I get out of frame here of the camera. But basically, I'm just trying to get a little wood off of either side of this. I don't know if you could see it, but there was a faint Sharpie line in there. So just kind of removing wood off of either side of that, and just kind of leaving the center line. So there again, I like an upsweep knife. It's got a belly on it. So that's the reason I like an upsweep knife, because I can just access a lot more. It goes back to the first class I ever had was Tom Wolf, and when it come around to buying knives, I asked Tom. He had 2 knives available. He had a straight knife and a upsweep knife, as Tom called it, and I asked Tom. I said, which one would you get? And he said, I'd get the upsweep. And I said, why? And he said, I can do more with it. And I said, well, show me. So it's just, he said, you'll eventually need a straight blade. But so I got the upsweep, and it's just been a good choice. But so here again, just to kind of give you just a little bit of wood off of either side and a little bit for a center line. That's all I'm concerned about right now. I'm just trying to get an area so I can draw. I'm gonna try to use this little Sharpie right here. I don't consider myself much of a drawer. I kind of doodle, but I use my hands and my thumbs a lot, you know, so I can get around this piece of wood just like Ray Charles or something. I can move my thumbs up and down. I can look. I can kind of plan around knots and things like that. So we've got plenty of room. The thing about a wood spirit is you got plenty of freedom. And of course, that's not going to draw.
Actually, hey, Alan, while you're doing that, John Overby asked in the chat there if the tree is green. So that's a fairly new cut down piece of wood, correct?
Yeah, I cut it down day before yesterday. Yep. But I mean, I was talking about Tom Wolf earlier, and I used to do a lot of walking sticks for Tom up on Grandfather Mountain. So I've carved them in the dead of winter and in the heat of summer. So I cut them. I would cut anywhere from 25 to 35 sticks Monday, and may go home and carve 4 or 6. So there's just you got a lot of different ways to work this wood. Speaking of, it comes to right in here. It comes to, I've got a million different options. You know, I like a really large nose. You know, these are pencil marks. There's nothing concrete in there. So I can put a mark on there if I want to, and just come back and carve it off if I don't like that. But it's a pencil. There's nothing cut. There's nothing that says that we can't come back in here and move these lines. So there's another thing I like about wood carving. I can come home and do what I want to do, as long as I work with the wood. So I'm just going to try to draw just a kind of a basic shape here. And this is just what I'm going to call my nose lump. And I'm just going to make a cut. We're going to kind of work on some eye sockets in here a little bit. And really all I'm concentrating on is getting the shape of this nose. So I'm looking for something deep. How deep? Number 9s or number 11s. I can get in here and get in there really quick. So this is just a big honking number 11. And I'm just kind of going around this little shape that I've made. I normally like to use a reciprocator on these, and I've got one off to the side here. We'll see if we can leave it here. Make this thing work. It just saves your hand a lot of fatigue. Now, is that going to work, guys? Can you see this?
Yeah, if you can move to your right a little bit, Alan, that would probably help.
Is that working? Can you see that? Yep,
Yeah, that should be fine.
Take it this way, just a little bit.
Tell him to come more towards the chair, Pat.
Can't see, can't hear.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
There we go.
All right. Power tools are persistent. Get back to the end here. Just kidding. Use whatever you got. Think of them as a tool. I use a belt sander on a wood carving in a minute. All right, so just back in here trying to deepen these eye sockets. Again, I'm really not focused on anything other than this lump of wood. So I'm gonna get a few more cuts in here and we'll turn it around. I just want everybody to kind of focus on this shape. It's just a shape is all I'm after. Once I learn to get a shape into my mind, I might carve 3 walking sticks and only one of them good. So I learned to go back and work on little things, like if I didn't like the nose, if I didn't like the eyes or whatever. So just keep, if you're having a problem or issue with a carving, just kind of stick with it. Maybe use a different set of tools, maybe go at it a different way. So here again, now I've got this kind of this shape that I'm after. As long as I get this shape on a carving, I know I can get kind of a large, kind of a bulbous, kind of a nose. So like I said, the pencil marks are on there just to show you, you know, you may start it out here. You may wind up way down in here. It doesn't matter. So it's a wood spirit. So you got a lot of freedom, but I'm going to go ahead and get these pencil marks off there so I don't confuse any of us.
Hey, Alan, question in the chat. Somebody wants to know what's the difference between basswood and carving greenwood, and is it the hardness, holding shape? What's the difference, or what's the benefit?
What's the intrigue about sweet gum for me?
Yeah.
Is it's very affordable, sweat equity, it in the area that we live in, it grows like grass. It's everywhere, so it's available. How does it carve compared to sweet gum? You know, we've got this solution that we put on this stuff called pinacryl. I I I was wanting to kind of rough this out last night, but I thought some folks might could benefit from seeing this, so I didn't. But ideally, I would rough this out like last night, put a couple of coats of the pinacryl on there, and then today I would have been rewarded with kind of like a glossy cut, and I reckon it to like a very I don't want to say hard in the sense, but it's just it's a really good carving experience is all I can say. And I would just invite anybody and green wood in general, you know, it's helped me to be a better carver. I have to make more of an exacting cut sometimes, you know. So within this green wood, if I got to where I can hit an eye within, you know, the amount of cuts that it takes, when I get into a good piece of northern basswood, your carving is going to be elevated, in my opinion. That's what I've found by carving it. So, you know, whether it's sweet gum or whatever it is, try different woods that's in your area. All right, so we've got this little shape here. It's just a shape that I'm after. So with this deep gouge there again, I'm after a shape. I'm after this wall of this gouge. So what I'm going to do is swing way down in there and kind of come up along the bridge of the nose while sort of forming the top of that nostril. And I'm going to do it on the other side. Tom Wolfe always told me if you're a right-handed carver, carve it upside down. You know, if you're a right-handed carver, do the left side. Why is that? Because it's upside down. So if I'm working on this side of the nose, then when I come back around, it's a lot easier to match these cuts. So little ditties like that. I'll replay little ditties as I'm carving these out. You know, work with the grain. Little things over and over. So when I get to this little stage in here, the cool thing about it is now that after you get a few tools, you learn how to sort of play with them. And that's all I'm doing here is kind of playing with this shape to kind of help bring that nostril out. Before I could afford that gouge, I would get in here with the knife and just kind of roll that in. So there again, there's another good thing about an upsweep knife. You can do it with a straight blade too. But there again, whatever works for you. So always try different tools. If you spend a week carving something with just a knife and a V tool, try some U gouges or something. So just kind of mix it up. Always kind of experiment. So I've used the deep gouge, and it's I don't know, it's about a 5/8 number 11. So it's a pretty good deep gouge, and I've went down, and then right through the center to create the bottom of the nose. I've sort of went in here and got the eye sockets, just sort of, and I've used this deep gouge on either side of the nose to kind of bring out that shape. So once I'm happy with the shape, I may look at it from profile or whatever, but now I'm ready to go ahead and kind of solidify this. So I want to put a stop cut and a relief cut. And here again, if there's something in your way, like this little ridge is getting in my way, I can use my knife or a gouge to come back in there just to kind of create the area to get back into. So stop cut, relief cut, stop cut, relief cut. All right, there's the bottom of that nose. So I'm going to put a little stop cut and a relief cut onto the other side of the nostril. Stop cut, relief cut. There again with this upsweep knife, I can just kind of touch certain little areas. I can just kind of hit with that belly or that tip of that knife. And then I can just kind of roll back into these cuts All right, so now we've got the bottom of the nose and under the left side of the nostril. Now we're going to come in the other side right here. There again, notice that rocking cut. I don't have to be strong. I can just take my time and rock that blade. Wait a minute, coach, you're using a pocket knife. Isn't that dangerous? No, because I'm using it in the way that the tool was intended to be. So, you know, it's there again, if you're uncomfortable with a tool, put it down. Use something that you're used to. So now we got a stop cut along the bottom and the side of the nose. All right. Oh, so many options. I don't like to be put in a box. So a lot of times I'll think, okay, looking at the eyes, I might want to open it up. Sometimes I might want to open it up that much. So tool selection, you know, it with all of the years of collecting and stuff that I've usually got a tool that will fit the scale of carving. So getting into that too, scale of carving. Well, when I started carving out, the largest tools I had were the little the Ramelson sets. So here again, there would have been the scale, you know, with some of the smaller tools. As I got into doing bigger things, I would get bigger and deeper tools. So if I were doing a keychain, a wood spirit on a keychain, I might use something like the smaller gouges. The trick is to try to use the largest gouge that will fit. So whatever works, you know. All right, so we'll get this pencil in here. And I can sort of see the top and the bottom nostril, or the outside of this nostril. So I'm just going to come in here with just a pencil line on either side. And I'm going to make just stop cut and a relief cut. Here again, you'll see me kind of back off maybe go to another tool. It's just there again. I'm more comfortable with one than another. Sometimes it comes down to the handle shape. You know, I might just feel more comfortable with that certain tool. All right, so that's just a stop cut and a relief cut. We're just kind of carving out that little pencil line we've made. So just a nice little stop cut and a relief cut. All right, stop cut, relief cut. And there again, I'm just talking out loud. This is the stuff that every cut I make, I say stop cut, relief cut. Is it clean? And if it is, then I progress. All right, so stop cut, relief cut. Now we've got these little, as I almost call them, kind of little catfish whiskers hanging off the end of his nose. So we're not carving a fish, we're carving a wood spirit. So let's go ahead and take the knife and get right there and right here, just to kind of get rid of that little whisker, as I call it. All right. Then I can get the blade back in here. Well, you see me kind of back up. I started to make that cut this way, and I thought, well, let me back up and make that at a better angle. So, all right, just kind of make sure we got these stop cuts in there. Kind of back under it. And we produced just a little bit of a shadow under that nose. So, all right. So just a few cuts, whatever it takes. If it takes 3 or 4 more cuts to clean that up, then do it. Usually I can hit these cuts. I'm trying to carve off to the side. All right, so we've got a little bit of a shadow under there. All right, we've got the top part of this nostril, and we're real close to finishing this nose. So let me just draw the top part of that nostril in. All right, so as I'm drawing this in, I might draw it in a certain way, but I'm telling myself I need to come from the back to the front, because now I'm working with this grain. So get the tip of your knife in there and let it swing and or arc right around. So we've just made an arcing stop cut. So just stop cut, relief cut, stop cut, relief cut. just an arcing stop cut. So again, I'm just thinking out loud. This is what's going on in my head. Stop cut, relief cut, clean it out. All right, so now I've got a nice little shadow up above that nostril. Same thing on the other side. Let me show you the other way. There's another way to do this. Funny looking little tools. We got just a bent V tool. But the thing about it is if I ride it like a motorcycle, say we're riding around a curve, all right, we get into that curve, if we lean that motorcycle down, then hit the throttle, we're out of there. All right, so good and clean and quick. So just two different ways to pull those cuts off. You can go back and move things as you need to. So critique, make the cut, look at it. If you need to, move it or adjust it around. So this is pretty much the shape of my nose. Now I might want to come back in here and kind of soften or give it some of these little wood carved look edges, little facets. Put those little facets everywhere. Just kind of bump it and run, just kind of wherever it needs one. Your eye is going to be attracted to, a straight line. So just kind of flip it, move it, bring it around. Just trying to get these little wood carved facet in there. All right. Now it comes into, let's get some nostrils in this guy so he can breathe. All right. There is a Ramelson tool, or Harmon, used to be Harmon, then it went to Ramelson, but it's the mystery gouge. They call it a number 9 or a number 6, I'm not sure, but after a while, you just kind of look at it and say, that's going to fit the area that I'm after. So that's all that is just playing around with the different shapes of the tools that you have. So this is just kind of a stop cut. Just stop cut right down to the top of the mustache, stop cut. Then you'll bring your other knife or your skew in here, whatever you've got, and relieve that. All right, so whatever it takes to clean that up. As you're moving this thing around, you'll see little cuts or little areas of wood that you need to soften or move. Go ahead and fix those. So now I'm done with the nose. All right, I can go on to, how about let's plan this mustache. Let's see.
Hey, Alan, before you move on, can you hold that up closer to the camera so people can kind of see a close-up of it?
Which way?
That's probably good right there.
How about that, y'all? All right,
Perfect,
so I'll get a lot of this stuff kind of moved in, but as we're doing there, we're flipping and rolling and tumbling. If you see something there that kind of bugs your eyesight, get rid of them. I've heard people say, well, I'll come back and clean that up later. That's okay, but I like to go ahead and get it because sometimes I forget to later. Okay. All right, when it comes into to the mustache, what and we can give him a little bit of interest here. Maybe flip. Maybe we'll keep one side up a little high and maybe kind of drop it on the other. I don't know. We won't get too crazy. I'll use the reciprocator just because I'm going to be busting off a lot of wood here. So try to move this chair over. Yeah, this thing gives you a lot of freedom. A lot of times, if you're just kind of working it with your hand tools, you'll think, well, it's just stubborn. I'll just, that's deep enough. But with this thing, it gives you a lot of. This plastic housing on this thing wants to keep scooting around. I got the old kind that's metal. It doesn't go anywhere. All right. Just going to try to get some of this wood out of the way for a mustache. Y'all see that? I
Yeah,
don't know
that's
what it
good.
needs to be. Kind of like he's got like a Elvis sneer up under that mustache. Just something. It's not much, but we did kick it over just a little bit. So maybe he's not got a whole lot of expression, but maybe he's kind of wanting to whisper something under his lip there. So all right, we got the bottom of this mustache. Now I'm going to come on the outside. Let me try to draw a line here so everybody can sort of see. I get sort of close. That's all I'm at, is close. So just an idea there. Take it out. And over here. Well, I've got the reciprocator. He's got a lot of wood up here in his forehead. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. All right, using my thumb and my finger, I can sort of see. I want to remove some of this wood over here. I think I'm gonna use the hand tool now to get the see around. All right, but when you've got your tools set up optimally, you can do good things. All right. But I do encourage you, if you've got a lot of carpal tunnel or maybe you're just tired, to maybe think about a reciprocator. All right. So this was the old school way I had of getting rid of a lot of wood, just by a mallet tool. And I've used a lot of those, but I like the palm feel. So that gets into, if you've got a mallet tool, but you don't like the handle, or maybe you don't like the length of it, it gets into, I guess, messing with the tools and making knives. That's kind of how it started. Was I would go buy a knife and I didn't either like the handle or I didn't like the length of the blade. So I thought, wait a minute, I paid good money and I'm not using this tool. So I would kind of start modifying it to fit my own needs. So don't be afraid if you've invested in a tool and it's just sitting there. Put a little bit elbow grease with it. Maybe move some material off the blade or off the handle. Make it yours. All right, so use this big old number 9 just to kind of get down in this area, the forehead, after the reciprocator. So that's a pretty good little amount out of there. All right. So
Hey, Alan, another question in the chat. Somebody wants to know the brand reciprocator that you use.
This is a Wheat Cheer brand. I'm not sure who carries them now. been a while since I've got one, but it is a Wecheer, and it goes directly onto a Fordham. You just need the hand piece, and then you can use these little RG style blades by Flex Cut. All right. So I'm just kind of looking around in these little areas. I like these big gouges just because of a couple of little sweeps and I'm back in the ball game. You know, sometimes I can look at a carve and think, man, that thing is wonky. But I can get a big old gouge and get right back in the game. So, all right, here again, that's a good deep gouge. It's just going to get me in trouble, I'm afraid, if I keep using it. So I might swap to something smaller. And here again, this can change. I've carved so many of these things that you might think or be thinking one thing, but you'll see an option or an opportunity. So always try to if you see an opportunity, go for it. You might be carving a Santa Claus, but it looks more like a Viking or a biker. So all right, so now I can come in here and bring out the entire side of this mustache. I can do it with the hand tools. I can do it, let's say I can do it with a hand-powered V tool. I could take my time and come in here with a stop cut and a relief cut with a knife. This is something I told Jerry a long time ago about. I kind of use like a sneak up approach. So if I just use a pencil to draw that line, I might sneak in there with a gouge. I might get really close. All right. So I'll find a tool that's going to take me in there and get me really close to where I want to be. And then I might use a V tool or a knife blade. So here again, the sneak up approach. I've used a gouge to come in there that happened to be a soft V. So come in there, then I'm going to take a V tool. There it is. All right, so I've used a gouge to go in there and find the outside of that mustache. Now let me come in there with a V tool and kind of put that line or define it a little more. All right, so now we're a little bit closer, but now we want to maybe put that Sharpie mark or that detail line. So gouge, V tool, and then I'm going to put a stop cut with a knife blade, clean it out, then that will be done. I like that V tool because it grabs your attention. So I like to run a lot of the hair with that V tool. So there again, that just shows you the kind of the sneak up approach. We've used a gouge, then a V tool, and then a knife. So we're going to do the same to the other side. I've got a 1/4-inch gouge. That's not it. That's a good tool for me, was a 1/4-inch U gouge. I can get into a lot of different areas with it. So, and there again, I'm just kind of sneaking up to this. I can use that wall to push something over. So again, I can access these areas and clear out a lot of wood. So I've just pushed that in. Now I'm going to take that same V tool, might come right back in there. And again, that reciprocator, I love the V tool on that reciprocator because you can just kind of glide right up to the nose and stop, you know, so it's a very safe tool. A lot of times you'll get a lot of momentum build up trying to maybe carve through a knot or just a hard spot, and then there it's dangerous. So now you've got a tool in your person instead of the wood. All right, so just a stop cut and a relief cut in there should pull that out. So here again, whichever tool works best for you, that's the tool that you use. Y'all got to fuss and holler at me if I get this out of the camera there.
Yeah, you're good, Alan.
Okay. Yeah, this is, I just had a note, about like different profiles. And this is a good area, because there again, I meet folks that loves, I like straight blades. I like all knives, I don't care what it is. But I just can't do everything with one knife. There was only a couple of men that I've seen do that. And the great Harold Enlow comes to mind. He was kind of like a magician with a knife blade. So I found out very early on that I was no Harold Enlow. So I kind of graduated to knives and I don't know, a power hammer, a chisel, whatever works. So here again, just kind of moving around, just kind of cleaning up. And if anybody's got any questions here.
Hey, Alan, there's one other question in the chat. On the reciprocator, they're wanting to know if you can use flex cut tips, and if so, does it take spacers? Do you have any idea about that?
Yeah, you will. If you're using the Wheatear, I know it works with the flex cut gouges. Goes straight in. All right. If you use, I believe it's the flex, or excuse me, what's the other brand? Fordham.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've got to use these little shims, they call it. So you can get these through some of your carving supplies, but what you'd be looking for, you don't need this little shim with the flex cuts. But if you use like a Fordham or something like that, gouge, it's just a little shim that makes that blade fit tight without falling out. But yeah, they're out there and they work really good. All right, so we was talking about profiles and stuff like that. This might be a good time to kind of look at some of these knives. Mr. Jerry is making these tool holders, so this is pretty cool. Usually when I grab a holder full of knives, I've got them everywhere, so these are working out really good. But it gets into, I've got anything like this clip point. So I've got, kind of a wider blade for me, but this is my rough out knife. I use a very thin, might as well just say for everybody's intents and purposes, we'll just say 3/32 of an inch thick. So we've got really thin stock, and I can utilize this knife for maybe roughing out. I could have come in there and started with this blade to rough out. Then I've got this belly, so I can access so many different areas on this carving with just how that belly sweeps up. When it gets into detail, I've got this tip on it, so I can get right in here. And we carve basically your softer woods. This is probably the hardest thing that I carve is green sweet gum. So I don't need a really thick, rigid blade knife. It's not walnut, it's not cherry, so I don't need anything that's kind of thick. Right. So I've got anything from a knife with a lot of belly on it to here again, a lot of folks' favorite sweep or profile. You got your straight blade. So there's just sometimes it's just nuance. I might like there's just a roughing knife. Well, why did I make it like that? It looks like a cleaver, and it's got plenty of strength behind that point. So it's kind of cool for that. Let's see, we've got a scimitar. I've got the same roughing and slicing capabilities, but I've got a very fine tip. And when it comes to eyes, I really like this because I can the length of that blade and the sweep. And like I said, it's just little nuances. Sometimes I'll use one blade over another when it comes to certain areas of that carving. When I go to do an eye, I can do an entire carving with any one of those knives. But when it comes down to, say, the whittling contest, you got Blake Lunsford sitting over there. What do? You know, I'm going to go back in my little arsenal, and I'm going to keep looking. So it gets into use whatever works, and it gets into this knife right here. This is a new profile, so we're going to debut this one here for Blake and everybody. But this is something I'm calling the Shanghai Slicer. It's kind of radical. It's got a recurve in this blade and kind of a chisel tip. So I'd been playing around with this knife. I'd made it, and I thought, well, I'm just going to play around and use it for me. But I use it a lot for slicing cuts, and then I like to be able to roll that tip in there. So, you know, it's not for everybody, but this is a 2¼ inch long blade, so I've got a lot of flex with it. So the more I use it, the more I find out that I like it, and I think I'm going to make that the new profile. So it's just use whatever works for you.
Hey, Alan, the elephant in the room is where can they get one of your knives if they want to buy one?
All right, good deal. Right now, Kling Spore. We started out with Kling Spore. They started out with a straight blade and an upsweep, or the clip point. So the other big news, you would contact Kling Spore or me, or coming up in just the not too distant future, Treeline USA has contacted me. So we're going to try to make some knives for them. They're really interested in a 1 3/4 inch straight, and also a 1 3/8 inch straight blade. So those are going to be out of curly maple, and got some tricks with that going to be coming up. We're going to show you how to take this maple handle, and I just put just a simple Howard's finish on that knife. This way, if you want to put some color on it, you can definitely dye that handle, and you'll see all of the chartreuse is happening in that handle. So you can have different options there. But you know, it's like buying a car. You go and you buy a vehicle, you kind of want something just a little bit different, a little bit unique. So same thing with your knives, and that's sometimes why we like one knife over another. Maybe it's got a blue handle, you know. So there again, knives are funny. They're just like us. So all right, I just kind of went in there and separated the eyebrow, and I'm just kind of moving around, looking. Might need to come in here and use that gouge for some depth in this area. Kind of push some areas out in here. But let's go back, and I'm just going to put in I'm just going to use this reciprocator just a little bit more right in the mustache, and then we'll throw a V tool in. Yeah, I'm just going to bring this mustache down a little bit. The biggest thing with this reciprocator is you got to have room enough to not get the cord in a bind. All right, so that's going to kind of break out some of this wood under there. Get this little area. Okay, now let's get back up in here toward the top. Thinking about hair flow. All right, I'm gonna try to give this guy some really sad eyes. Thinking about some stuff. So I'm gonna use that just to kind of get rid of that extra wood. All right, so now I can come back in here with a beat tool. I've got a bunch of different options. I would rather just kind of float. There's going to be hair, beard flow. So I'd just rather take my gouge and maybe kind of float some off the side of the face over here. All right, so we got a little bit of wood there. And the other thing I like about a U-gouge is I can turn it on its side, and I've got about a number 3 sweep. I read that somewhere, and it sounds about right. But if you'll turn it on its side, you can do a lot of cleanup work. So there's the other reason I love a U-gouge. And this little, I believe it is the Stetson Stubby, the short-handled version of the Denny Soft V. That is probably one of my favorite tools that's ever been produced right there. You use it a lot, just for that reason. I can get a really deep cut with it, then I can turn it on its side and clean with it. So it's just a really good tool. All right, let's see. Going to plug some shows coming up. We got the Charlotte wood carving show. So if you've never been to Charlotte, oh man, it's a good show. Got good people, a bunch of different stuff. We got whittling contests. There's prizes. Treeline has donated gift certificates. My gosh, what, Jerry? Got clean spore. Yeah, so I mean, it's just good. Competition is probably some of the best around, and the people just can't be beat. So definitely come down and see Charlotte. I'll be sharpening there Saturday and Sunday. So you got a dull tool, bring it down, and we'll take care of you there. So here again, I'm just going to kind of work up under this mustache. I'm going to kind of look through my box and get kind of that certain little tool I've got that fits in that area. You know, I am a toolaholic. I will buy a tool if I've got the money. I'll buy it and take it home and play with it. That's the fun of it. So, you know, if you're a carver that uses a limited amount of tools, hey, that's great. I'm going to be the guy that's got, you know, if I can afford it, whatever I can get to get in there and make that cut easier. Sometimes that's all it is just a matter of just makes it easier. All right, so I'm up under this mustache, fairly good to where I can get this reciprocator. I'm gonna try to catch you up to my thought process here. So, okay, I've kind of got this face outlined. We've got the nose. I'm pretty well done with the nose. I've got the eye sockets hinted in to where I can work with this. So now just the thought process is, okay, allow yourself just a little bit more room in that eye area. And sometimes just a single pass with the gouge is enough. So I'm thinking 2 things. Clean it up, get ready for your next cut, get little things out of the way, and set yourself up just like playing pool. I'm trying to set myself up for this next tool. So I'm going to be putting a V tool in. So I want to come up in here and maybe kind of clean out this little channel around the side of the face with a gouge or something, kind of bump and run. So I can, there again, I can kind of use that tool at its maximum advantage. I can use the deep part, and then I can just kind of let it glide over onto that side and clean it right up. So now I'm good with the forehead. It doesn't look like it, but I am. So I'm going to start with this pencil. Now we're just going to come in. I'm just going to draw this little little hairline right around in there. We're just going to kind of stop right above this little cheekbone for now. Then I'm going to grab this little line up under the mustache. And me and pencil lines, we don't get along. I may draw this line here, but I may actually cut above it or below it. So there again, freedom. I don't like to be put in a box. I like to be able to move around. All right, so I'm going to put a major cut in here. And then I'm going to kind of sweep around. I'm going to do some eyes real fast.
Hey, Alan, one other question before you get started there. If somebody's wanting to know, they're not familiar with sweet gum, if it'll darken like it does when you carve an apple, or does it stay pretty much the color that it is now?
Yeah, it'll stay pretty much. They change. Yeah, they'll back and forth. Most of the time, they stay pretty clear. All right. All right, so I'm just going to use this V tool, and I'm going to kind of go around the face real quick. Good. We're going to put in the mustache. All right, I think Jerry said we got like 15 minutes left, so let's see if I can make this work. Everybody's always wanting to know eyes. So I'm going to show you a cut that the good Lord gave me at about 2:30 in the morning to find the gouge. There it is. All right, 1/4 inch U gouge. I was trying to draw it, but I want to go up, over, and out. And I say that little ditty just like that. Up, over, and out. If I say it like that, then I draw it like that. The bottom, I'm going to pinch it. Then I'm going to drop down and back up. So I'm just thinking out loud. I'm going to come down, get to the edge and pinch it. Then I'm going to draw a line right through the center of that. So that's all that is. Just kind of 3 little lines there. But I had bought a 1/4 inch U gouge, and I didn't know how to carve, but it was the deepest gouge I had. So I thought, well, so it was at the end of the day, and I was tired out in the shop about 2:30 in the morning. So I made 3 little swipes in a block of wood, and I thought, wait a minute, that almost looks like an eye. So over the course of the next 2 or 3 days, I just kind of kept working with it, and now this is the eye that I use on my walking sticks or just a lot of different things. So we're just essentially just tracing out those pencil marks that I drew. So I go top and bottom, and then I go right through the center, and it kind of leaves me with this eye, or kind of the indication of where that eye is. So there again on the other side, now I can sort of see right where that eye goes. If I need to, I can kind of pinch it with the gouge corners. All right. Then with the pencil, I like to put the eye really close to the bridge of the nose. To me, that's what puts him right in fantasy land and separates him from everything real. So with a couple little pencil marks in there, I'm going to put a little chip cut, or a 1, 2, 3 cut. 1 to the top indication, 1 to the bottom indication. Chip cut should come flying right out of there. 1 the other eye. Right on your pencil dot to the top indication. Right on your pencil dot to the bottom indication. Get your rifle sights right on that deer, squeeze the trigger. All right, there's a little branch there, so I'm trying to hold this out like you guys, I don't know, hope you can see it. All right, so just a chip cut in the inside corner. On the outside corner, I'm going to put the knife right on the pencil dot, come to your top indication of your eye, lid. Pencil right on that dot, come to your bottom indication of that eyelid, take that chip cut out, hold your mouth right. There again, if it doesn't, just enter in to that little cut. So you'll see me rocking that blade. It's in there. It's really deep. I don't have to be very strong. I just have to be able to take my time and rock it right down. It's amazing. I can rock this blade right through a 2x4. But if I go side to side, it's going to snap. So everything has its limitations. So we've got this top and bottom. We need a stop cut and a relief cut. I can see there's an indication that's left by that gouge. So I bring that pencil into play. As long as I think of the pencil as a tool, I'm good. But if I think of it as work, it doesn't work. We've got a stop cut and a relief cut. One across the top, one across the bottom. Same thing on the other side. And there's a reason that I'm making the cuts in the direction. It's working with the grain. I had a kid tell me one time at John C. Campbell, he said, I think I can go the other way. I said, I think you better not. So he tried his way and the eyeball fell out. So he saved it. He went out in the parking lot, grabbed a rock and glued it right back in there. So it worked out. But I don't usually have that luck. So
Alan, would you mind getting a close up of that when you get finished of it, please?
yeah. All right. I'm doing right now is trying to get this little sliver of wood cleaned out of there. All right, how's that, guys?
Pull it just a little bit closer to the camera. Sorry. That's it right there. Thank you, sir.
Yep. All right, so we've got a stop cut. Now we've got a relief cut on the other eye. Just a sliver comes out of there. Same thing on the other eye. We've got a stop cut. Now we're just taking a little sliver of wood out of there, just something to catch the shadow. So, all right, there's our pupil in there. Now I want to extend this cut on the outside of the eye. So I'm just going to put that knife in there, extend that cut, and come back toward it. Same thing on the other side of the eye, right there. Back to it. All right, now we're going to show an anatomical fact. We're going to tuck the bottom eyelid under the top. So that little cut we just made right there. I'm going to take a knife. Actually, I'm going to buff it. The thing with this green wood is it's going to make your tool feel dull. So I keep a little buffing wheel with a little bit of compound on it. And that's all it takes. And now this knife will glide right through this wood. Okay, there we go. All right, so just a little cut right there. We're going to bring it back under. So that just starts that eyelid. So here again, I'm going to put the knife in and I'm just going to hold it up to the camera. Hope you guys can see that. All right. So that's there, this cut, and then that tucks that bottom eyelid up under there. All right. Then I got this little, it's a little bent V. After I get that bottom eyelid, then I can just kind of come right up under it. If you want a real heavy bag, you can put that under. You can put it as baggy or as not. And then this top eyelid, I come up over, kind of pinch it kind of close, then back out, kind of up, over, pinch it kind of close, and then back out. All right. So from here, you can kind of get back in there and tuck and move and, play with some of these lines. If you don't like them, maybe you can deepen some of those, but that'll put your top and your bottom eyelid in there. All right, here again, we've got all these little rough areas left in there. So just kind of bump and run with those. And here it comes back to that little U-gouge again, whatever I did with it. All right. Breaking up these little areas for the eyebrows. So 1, 2, 3 on one side. 1, 2, 3 on the other side. Might come back in the middle here and there, 1 or 2. So that kind of breaks that little area up. I'm going to get back up under the in the middle of the eye. So that's something I don't normally tell people to do, is that little rocking cut, but I'm kind of forced to carve right there, upside down. So I usually know what I can get away with. Right, so we've got that area separated up under there. Let's do this little negative eye and complete the eyeball. So this is like a stone sculptor's trick with your little dockyard gouges. Oh, the first or the second biggest one. I'm going to just hold it up here. I'm going to press it in. I want to push it right up under that top eyelid. Can everyone see that? All right, so that's that side. We'll do the other side. All right, so there it is, but notice how that tool glides right up under that top lid. All right, so, and it's in there too. So with your favorite tipped knife, get back in there and just kind of rock that blade down, and then you'll see your pupil pop out. So there's a shadow. Same thing on the other side. Get that blade in there and rock it until it pops out, until it's nice and dark. So at this stage, that's all I'm really going to do is go back and clean any little areas off that need bumping. And this will also clean up amazingly with a little bit of Dawn blue detergent and a little bit of water. So that's what I'll do off camera later, and we'll post this guy up on Facebook or to somewhere. But it's really a matter of just going into this V tool. I want you to see how quick this works. I don't know how much time we got, guys.
Hey, Alan, you got plenty of time. We're under no time constraint. We just try to keep it to like an hour and a half. So
okay, all right. All right, well, let me go ahead and just separate this little mustache, and I want to get this guy kind of brought out a little bit more for you. Just a few more cuts.
hey, while you're doing that, there's a couple questions in the chat about how you would finish sweet gum once you're finally done. What do you do with it?
Great question. That when I get to this stage here, it's literally me just taking the time to take a proper tool to clean up, like this cheekbone. Here's a good example of where and why, you know, number 2s and number 3s and things like that, number 5s or whatever. I like this number 3, and then I modify it. It's just it was a flex cut number 3, and I've rounded the edges. So if I've got this little tool, I can come back in here, and this just makes my life so much easier. I can hit all these little areas. I can clean up. I can roll down into some of these little areas. But I'm just going to kind of do this one little cheek so you can see what's happening. Then I'll show you another little neat trick with it. Get myself in trouble. All right. Now, up under this mustache, you can see I was sort of starting a lip maybe up under there. But maybe I'm doing some, oh, sorry. Thanks, Pat. Up under this mustache, I was starting for a split and a lip under there, but maybe we want to do a design change. Maybe we don't want to carve this lip. The cool thing about it being a character or a whimsical guy, his lip would be up here. So I'm way far down, and we've got that ability with on a wood spirit. So now I can just take this little rounded number 3 right up under this mustache. I'm just going to kind of arc it around. And this way, I don't even have to carve the lip. So it's get a few cuts in here and kind of spin it around. But I call this a tool of patience. A number 3 gouge will always meet itself. So if I'm patient and I make a stop cut and relief cut, that cut will always come out clean. So having that knowledge, all I have to do is just make stop cut, stop cut, stop cut, stop cut, turn it, relief cut, relief cut, relief cut. So I'll use this kind of, I don't want to say blindly, but I just throw it in there and start rotating, and then I flip my piece of wood and start rotating the other way. But that'll get you down in there and it'll clean it out. Maybe if you've got a ball cap on a caricature, you could see how maybe you're working up under the brim or something. So this would be a good tool. It's one that I use when I'm working something like that. Maybe you got a cowboy hat or something, but just a tool of patience. Stop cut and relief cut. So that's a neat little trick with that number 3. Sometimes there's areas where I just want to be safe. I want to, instead of making a big beefy stop cut and relief cut, maybe I want to just take my time, use a safe tool. It might take me 3 or 4 more cuts, but I don't end up in the emergency room. So there's just a bunch of different ways to think there. So that's just a little bit on a rounded number 3. There's so many areas that I can hit with that tool. All right, let's come back up in here in the top. How to identify sweet gum? That's a great question. Down in the South here, it's just everywhere. So we've got these little brown balls. You'll see them, and when you hit them with a lawnmower, man, those things go flying. So the good thing is, if you've got access to a phone, there is an app out there, or this great little thing called Google. And I'm not saying that in a smart aleck way. I'm trying to tell you from experience. I use it. It's a tool. So if you're out, and that's what me and some of the guys were talking about earlier. It's funny because people think, oh, you're a wood carver. What kind of wood is this? I have no idea. That blows their mind. Well, you're a wood carver. Well, it doesn't, it doesn't mean, everything. So you use the tools that are available to you. Back in the day, it was go ask grandpa, or papa, as I call him. So that papa was Google, but it's just use whatever is in your area. The reason I use sweet gum is I had called Tom and Nancy a long time ago because I had read that book and I couldn't tell what kind of sticks to use. And so I called, and Miss Nancy answered the phone, and she said, well, maybe I can help you. She said, Tom's out doing something. And so I told her what the problem was. And she said, did you read the book? And I said, yes, ma'am. And she said, do you have the book? I said, yes, ma'am. And so I went and got it. And she told me on page 3, as I found it, and wrote about halfway down after I told her. I said, yeah, but he didn't say what kind of wood. Yes, he does. I said, I don't think so yet. Do you have the book? So I got the book, turned to page 3, and she said, right there it is. And it sure was sweet gum. But it was funny. Tom got on the phone, and I got asking him, I said, why do you use it? And Tom told me it doesn't split like he was doing a carving in one of his books. And by page 2, the carving was splitting, and it was a piece of green maple. And Tom said that he had cut it on the side of the road because he couldn't find sweet gum. So I just thought, okay, stay away from maple. All right. But we're just kind of working around, getting this good little stop cut, relief cut up there. I've kind of cleaned around. Now I'm ready for a V tool in this flex cut. So I'm going to swap that over. All right, let's see what we covered. Charlotte show coming up. We got Big Stone Gap coming up in well, that's Camp and Carve. We got Memorial Day weekend coming up, and then we got the show in October. So all of that stuff is online. Contact Sean Eldridge on Facebook or Miss Vicky Eldridge. So, or holler at me. We'll get you the information. But this there again, just good people, you know. So the barn, yeah, we got the barn right down the road here in Maiden. Mr. Jerry does a great job of getting different instructors in. You know, some of it might be local, some of it wherever, you know, where we can find good folks to teach and take a class. So that's out there. Just be sure and check on Facebook and bug Jerry if you got a question. Jerry is good about getting an answer. So whether that's something to do with the show or maybe when coming to class, now sticks are gonna fall. Right. This is the problem with walking sticks. They start coming alive. Now we're going to take this V tool. I'm just going to come back in here, put some lines for the beard. And right now I'm just thinking squiggly lines. I hope y'all can see that. I can't. I don't know what to do, y'all. I don't know. I hope y'all can see. I can't tell. When I get to the side of the face, I just kind of let some of these little hair locks float down. Before I do that mustache, I'd rather break it up. That's the bad thing about power, or the good thing about power, is it's so easy, but you can keep going and making mistakes. So let's see, nines. The reason I like nines is I can get in here and kind of create a lot of different little areas here, little highs and low spots for the hair to go. I kind of call this my roadmap for my V tool. So I try to take a little bit of pains to get stuff headed in the right direction. All right. Here again, you know, we're working with what we got, but when you've got your tools to where you can move and maneuver and you can see, you know, so whatever you got to do, the the better your carving is going to be. All right. So that's just to break up this mustache in here. There again, sometimes it's just a little high spot or a dirty spot that'll catch my eye, and I'll move that. So after I get to there, then it's back to this hand-powered V tool. But here again, since I call this slag that builds up, it's just the sap from that tree, but it'll act like a parachute and it'll slow your tool down. So all you need to combat that is just one of these little loose buffing wheels, and you don't even have to have compound on it really, but that's all it's doing is just cleaning and keeping that tool where it'll glide and kind of slide through that wood. So that's the other little trick to carving green wood, is just have your little buffing wheel handy. All right, this is just a straight shank. It's a Swiss made V tool. I love it, but it's a love-hate relationship. I like these little bent V tools too for coming up under here. Now I can get in there and kind of access some of these little areas a lot better. So there again, you know, if you got when I first got this V tool, I hated it. I just didn't know how to drive it, was the whole problem. But after I spent a little bit of time with it, then it became one of my favorite tools.
Hey, Alan, I'm going to jump in here real quick and just say, if anybody is still wanting to bid on the auction for the carving that you're working on, they need to go ahead and put that in the chat now. High bid right now is $225. All the proceeds go to help carvers with the cause and the flood victims. So if they want to go ahead,
awesome. I promise, you know, it may not be looking the best when we finish, but meaning it may have some dirt and stuff like that. It may have little cuts in it, but I guarantee you, once you get this, I will clean it up. There will be clean cuts everywhere. There won't be dirty spots on it. So thank you for whoever's doing the bidding. We appreciate it. There's somebody cold right now up there, so I know they appreciate it. All right, here again, you know, breaking up these little side areas. You know, if you're carving your face and you think just sometimes maybe a touch of a gouge, maybe just here or there. If that's all it takes, there again, if that's all it takes is me to touch that a time or two more, it may be the difference in first and second place at the carving show. It might mean the difference when you're at that craft show that somebody says, hey, wait a minute, let's step back. What are they doing? They're taking the time because you showed that bottom lid is tucked up under that eye. So when they see this carving, you know, I've had people say, well, that looks so realistic. And I'm thinking, bless your heart, where in the world do you live? You know, get out from under the power lines quick. But, you know, what they're seeing is these little things that you took the time. And that's why, you know, when you go and take a class from anybody, you know, I remember when I started, my mother wanted me to start trying to teach classes. And I'd say, Mom, I don't know anything. And she'd say, well, honey, you know more than they do, you know? And I mean, within that scope, meaning I had a pocket knife. I had whittled a little bit of wood, you know? So she was right in that aspect. So here again, you can see with just that little bitty upsweep blade on that pocket knife, I can access so many little areas. And here again, you make knives. I can make knives about anything I want, but this knife is in my pocket 24/7. I know it like the back of my hand. So there again, I can carry this where I can't carry the carving knives that we use. So right, I'm gonna get back up in here, and I just use that tool sparingly. But doesn't take a whole lot for that tool to feel like it's dull, and it's just from this sap that's on this tool. All right. But that tool being bent, I can kind of go right up under it. Now, if this was at the shop and I wasn't trying to get in here so you can see how I'm using this tool, I would just put a reciprocator V tool on there and just drive it. Let's do it. Let me just show you. There again, I make a lot of cuts sometimes, and I think, you know, if I would have just took 2 seconds to change that, maybe it's a rotary bit or whatever, you know. So sometimes just getting the right tool in here. No, man, look out. All right, so here again, just getting that right tool. Why struggle when we can get this little tool right up in there and go right where we want to go? Same way up in here, any little area. And that's where I'm getting in trouble. I'm trying to fit something where it ain't working. But I'm just going to take some time here and clean up those little areas here in a little bit. But basically, that's where we're at right now is just doing little things. Like I might want to come in here and create more of a shadow. Like I like to put a little bit of a shadow right in there in the corner of that eye, in that temple area. I really like to show some. I remember Harold Enlow used to call them innies and outies. If you put a lot of innies and outies in your carving, that it creates interest. So I try to do that when I can. Same way with your V tools and your gouges. This slack or this slag that gets on that knife will dull it, but that right there, and I can't explain how much easier that blade glides just from that quick grip on that buffing wheel. So there again, maybe you tried carving green wood and it didn't work out for you. Maybe try to give it a second chance. There's stuff out there with this pentacryl that you can combat the cracking or the checking. So just and just think about how much saving you're doing versus buying basswood. So nothing like
Alan, one other question. Once you're said and done, everything's finished on the carving, do you put any kind of treatment on there as far as like a lacquer, or do you leave it natural and just put Howard's feeding wax? What do you do?
Good question. I've used a little bit of anything and everything. I like deft. So what I'll do, say if this was a walking stick, after I'm done carving, then I will take it and wash it real good with just a toothbrush and some Dawn, and I'll clean up all the dirt and little things like that. Then I take it and put a couple of coats of pentacryl on it. Sometimes I'll paint it on with a paintbrush. Sometimes I'll just kind of dip it like you're churning butter. So there's a couple of different ways, but I'll let that then stand in an area where there's no air conditioning or no heating. And you'll want to leave it there for about 2 weeks. And the same thing with this carving. What I'll do is when I get back to the shop, I will take in the very center of this is called the pith, the PITH. So I want to kind of maybe come in here and flatten the back, and then I'll take a reciprocating gouge and I'll just kind of work down and I'll clear that little pith out of there. And just like Blake showed at the beginning of the video, but that will relieve a lot of stress and stuff like that. So little things like that certainly help. But yeah, that's it. You know, when it comes to the Deft spray, that's just I like Deft because it works and it's easy, you know. So then it comes into, well, do you like the gloss or the satin? I like, you know, so that's just a matter of I don't like a lot of gloss to them, so I like more like the satin look or something. But it's there again. That's up to different people.
All right, Alan, we're at about 25 till 5, so we've been on here about an hour and 35 minutes. Before we finish up, I just want to see if anybody has any other questions. Somebody wanted to know about the knife. Is it a locking blade or just a regular pocket knife?
This pocket knife that I've been using, just a plain old traditional pocket knife. Back in the day when you could get them, it was a Camless. It's made in the USA. Actually, it says Stanley on the handle, but it was made by Camless back in the day. But it's just a plain old non-locking pocket knife.
And then another question, I'm going to highlight the other camera. They're asking about the buffet wheel that you use.
Harbor Freight, the cheapest thing you can find. Don't spend a lot of money on them. If you look at the very end right here where I'm pointing, I don't know why they put a screw that you have to put into a mandrel, but they do. So how I combat that is I take a little bit of glue as soon as I screw it in, and it's done, because I'll use the crap out of them. And 3 years, I'll throw it away and buy another $4.50. You can spend as much as you want to on them, but its only job is to either wipe or polish out the inside of that tool. So if you want to spend, you know, $10 or $20 on one, knock yourself out. But you can get by all day with Harbor Freight. Sure can.
And then one other question, this will be the last one. Freddie Pace is wanting to know, do you use a burr sharpener? If so, what kind of sandpaper do you use on it, and where do you get it?
Good question. I do use a Burke. Is it the best machine out there? I have no idea. It's the best machine I've used. So if I could drag this V tool behind my truck and get it sharp, then that's what I would use. But it's so what I'm saying is I had a Burke and I got used to it. It's a good tool. What I do is I use I had a question a couple of days ago about where do you get the sandpaper? My buddies here at Klingspor can't beat it because you can get this stuff in 50-yard rolls. I kind of apply the John Burke school of sharpening, you know. His idea was I want to spend my time carving and not sharpening. So within that, I use 100 grit on the first wheel, and then I use 180 grit, and then I go to the leather with compound, and then I buff. So that works. You know, you can get down to finer scratches, or, you know, scratch patterns, but I think that leaves the teeth on your knife. I think that gives you a good tooth and a good cutting edge. So there again, you ask 10 different people, you're going to get, you know, 10 different opinions, but that works for me.
All right, Alan, we're about 20 till. I'll go ahead and stop you there and call the auction.
Other than just getting, you know, a few little cleanup cuts and getting washed, it's ready. That's what I'll do is I'll go back over it. I'll clean up any little cuts. I'll put Pinacryl on it, and I'll post it on my Facebook tonight or tomorrow, because it's Saturday. So 2 weeks. Yeah, you got about a 2-week window to leave this where the air conditioner or the heat will not get to it. After that, you're good to go.
Okay. We'll call the auction. It looks like Tom Heidemann is the winner. So, Tom, if you'll stay on here at the end of the meeting. Alan, I just want to say thank you for coming on. Thanks for all the guys who are behind the scenes there helping you get all this set up.
Yeah. Huge thanks to Jerry and Pat. I wouldn't have been able to do any of this if it wasn't for those guys. So
That's right.
anytime you see either Pat or Jerry out, be sure and give them a big old slap on the back and tell them, we appreciate it, because it's all about the carvers, brother.
That's right. As I said in the beginning, known you a long time, always loved your work, and appreciate you taking the time out to come on and share with people. I know if people come out to shows in this region, they're going to be able to see you. They're going to be able to talk to you and see your tools, talk to you about sharpening, and see some of your carvings and stuff. So like Allen said, I encourage you all to come out to Charlotte, come up to Big Stone Gap, any of the shows around. You'll be able to find Allen there, and it's always a good time when we're around Allen. So thank you again for coming on, and
thank y'all.
We appreciate it. Just remind you all, we will not have another meeting until the 15th. February 15th, we'll have Mike Pounders come in, talk about not reciprocating saws, talk about duplicating machines and how to make your own rough out. So we look forward to that. Again, Tom Heidemann, stay on, and I'm probably messing up his last name. Stay on. And we'll get your information, Tom, and make sure the carving gets out to you, and we'll settle up as far as the payment. Thank you all for joining us on the International Association of Woodcarvers, where woodcarvers are helping woodcarvers. We'll get this video posted out on YouTube on Monday. Make sure you go out and like and subscribe our channel. You can go back and watch all the meetings that we've had. Almost 5 years worth of meetings coming up. So go out and check those out on YouTube. Thank you all for joining us. This has been the International Association of Woodcarvers. Thank you.
The only thing we will have is introduce yourself, and then welcome to the International Association of Woodcarvers. If you want to plug your what your project you're doing, if you want to hold it up and kind of show it, hey, we're going to do this today, that would be great. But yeah, that's all we need to say. We have as many takes as you want to take. If you mess up any, we'll blame it on Pat Coffee, and then we'll redo it again. So it's all Pat Coffee's fault. So it's whenever you want to go.
All right.
Perfect.
That'll work.
Say one last thing. Say welcome to the International Association of Woodcarvers, and I'll cut that in right at the end.
Okay. What was that again?
Welcome to the International Association of Woodcarvers.
All right, brother. Here we go. All right. This is Allen Goodman, and we'd like to welcome you to the International Woodcarvers Association.
Association of Woodcarvers. That's cool.
Hey, we all do it. I've done it too, Allen. Sorry.
I better write it down.
We set the cheap part over here.
See, this is why we do this, for just the laughs and for
The outtakes.
Yeah, Blake and I have to have our fun somehow.
The International Woodcarvers
Association.
International Association. International Association of Woodcarvers. All right, guys, we're gonna try this again. All right, let's see. Hey guys, this is Allen Goodman. I want to welcome you to the. All right, and hope you guys enjoy the project.
Perfect.
Thank you much. Let me see.
Thank y'all.